Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
What is up, and welcome in. We are the One and Done Show. We are your fast break of college basketball information, and we are here with another offseason edition, getting you caught up with all the latest news and notes from around the world of college basketball, and then spending a little time taking a little stroll through the ranks of the mid-majors, highlighting some of the best returning players from all of the teams outside of the Power Six conferences. And with me tonight, with me as always to do just that, is the most metamist of men, the captain of our ship at Green Screens Media. You can check him out at MC Holland34 on Twitter. He is Mr. Mike Holland. Mike, how we feeling on a Wednesday? We're officially in August. The countdown clock is ticking louder.
It is, man. It's August, and we think the portal's slowing down, but some rumblings that summer school is over, and we're going to get some guys jumping into the portal. But, yeah, I'm excited, man. We're under 100 days for sure till the tip of the season. I got a lot of info coming you guys' way. I know we took about 10 days off there. Glad to see you back, my guy. Our guy, Jay Heinrich, is out tonight, but hopefully going to be feeling better soon and joining us. So I'll be looking for that three-man box soon as we start our conference previews. We're going to kind of break down, a couple of conferences at a time until we reach the big 9 conferences that are out there, and we'll do those individually. So looking forward to that. So man, let's dive into it. Let's talk some hoops, man. It's been a little bit.
Yeah, let's jump right in. Before we do, definitely would be remiss without showing a little love to our guy Jay Heinrich. Not here tonight, but he will be back before we know it. This too shall pass. And for those that were not up to speed, I'm happy to be back from my mandatory suspension. I suggested that a team not named the Texas Longhorns was going to win the Big 12, and I got a 2-week ticket out the door. So happy to be back in the box going after it tonight with Mike. And like Mike mentioned, we're going to jump right in. We're going to talk about some of the latest news from the world of college basketball. And let's start off with Ball State. Their guard, Jarron Coleman, hits the open market. So what do we need to know about that particular move?
Yeah, it's a tough blow for Ball State that, man, they were looking to make some noise this year. This guy is a guy that kind of does everything on the floor, second team all conference. But this is the third straight year he's been in the portal, so no stranger to this process, even though it's late in the year. This is kind of what I mentioned earlier. We're going to see some guys trickle in here from summer school. Grad transfers going to be hopping into the portal and finding a new destination. Probably going to slot him probably somewhere inside the top 250, probably somewhere between 225 and 250. I'm going to review some more film on him. And, he's just a quality player, man. I mean, he averaged 14 points, almost 5 boards, 4 assists. So really good offensive player. And, we'll see. Should be no shortage of schools because there are still schools out there that need to fill roster spots. So what do you think about late movement, man? This is kind of crazy. Probably going to have a few more guys jump in here and change the landscape of college basketball.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we see guys actually jumping in the portal like maybe 10 minutes before tip-off of the opening game of the season, right? Like that clock is ticking louder, like we mentioned, and still we're getting new guys hitting the market. But the sort of wrinkle to it is that these are guys that, may not have had a huge market available to them had they gone through the process when the portal first opened. But, now you look at a guy like Coleman, and I mean, he's going to be a highly coveted piece out there, right? You mentioned you're going to slot him around 250 on your big board overall. But if you take a look at the remaining guys from that big board, I mean, he's top 15 or so of the guys that are still out there, right? So he's going to have a ton of suitors, and he brings a game that really feels like it can be sort of that missing piece for a team that feels like they're right on the precipice of winning their conference or making a deep run. So definitely a name to watch, another name and another team that was building a bit of momentum last year, felt like they might have a little bit of a run in front of them, was Northwestern, and that was largely on the back of their guy, Bowie. A little bit of sad news for our guy here. Ends up with surgery on his hand. These hand injuries can be kind of tricky. So tell everyone a bit about Bowie, what he was doing for them last year, how he projected this year, and what we know about this injury right now.
Yeah, part of a great story. Just man, put in the time, put in the effort, got Northwestern to the tournament, which is awesome. And then, man, this Northwestern team looks like one of the top 3 to 4 teams in the Big Ten. Now, he is scheduled to make a full recovery, be back for the start of fall practice, average 17 points, 4.5 assists. He will be on the all Big Ten preseason watch list. So looking forward to that. But man, I don't know what's going on with Northwestern, man. They've been in the news for things you don't want to be in the news for. So obviously with their football team dealing with the hazing scandal, other teams, I believe their baseball team as well. So just kind of a mess there for the athletic director, but hopefully Bowie makes a full recovery and another chance to have what would be a special season by Northwestern standards. I mean, you look at their history, there haven't been too many tournament appearances. So, looking forward to Bowie getting healthy. And I know our guy Jade loves the all-name team. So, for sure, I want to see him make a run at that again this year.
Yeah, regardless of what happens with his hand, then it does sound like he should be ready for the start of play here in a couple months' time. Bowie has cemented his place on Jay's all-world name list, and I do think that we'll see him continue that upward trajectory. And really, your characterization is spot on, right? Northwestern can kind of use a good story, and if nothing else, use a winning basketball season to kind of distract from some of the chaos that's going around with the other sports. So obviously sad news and troubling news to hear with regard to the baseball program, with regard to the football program, but we're here to talk about hoops. And fortunately for Northwestern, that is the bright spot within their athletic department at the moment. Want to move to our third piece of news. This one is kind of curious as well. A guy that we played a fair amount in DFS last year. Aaron Ulis transferred to Nebraska this year, and now he's got some allegations, some gambling allegations swirling around him. So, what do we know about this story, and how do we sort of project out Ulis for the year to come?
Yeah, this is a wild story, and just noticed that the old Ulis has the H in there. So we apologize, Mr. Ulis. I know you got other things you need to be worried about it, so don't be worried about the H in your name on this graphic, but we know it's Ulis. And yeah, not a great story. And this is the second major name in college athletics. We had Iowa State quarterback, I believe his name's Sam Deckers, betting, and I'm like, what are these guys doing? Sports betting issues with these guys, right? Like, do they not know that you're going to get caught at this point? I mean, he's rumored to place about 2,000 bets on FanDuel under a bogus name. So I don't know, man. I don't know what these kids are thinking. There's even rumors that he placed a bet on his own team. I saw a funny tweet saying he can be sponsored by FanDuel and have an NIL deal with FanDuel, but he can't bet. And that'll never change, man. There's no place for that, obviously. And this is a big blow, man, because he's going to be a really good piece. He's been a solid role player for his entire career, with Iowa there, and getting some opportunity to come off the bench there for Nebraska, maybe even challenge for a starting opportunity. We talked about him about a month or so ago, maybe a guy that could potentially get some more opportunity and some more shine, but he's in some trouble, man, some deep waters here, and he could lose his eligibility. So what are your thoughts on these guys and these kids and what they're doing, man?
I mean, it's tricky because sports wagering has proliferated to the point where it's part of pop culture in today's world, right? Like it's things that people do to find entertainment in the games that they watch, I guess in Ulis's case, in the game that they play, right? So it's going to be an increasingly significant issue as all of these sports entities, right? Whether it is one-to-one with an NIL deal or it is with some of the biggest sports outfits in the world, right? I mean, NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL all have deals with DraftKings, with FanDuel, right? So like the sports books are huge sponsors of professional athletes. And I think in the case of Ulis, we're probably going to see the NCAA take a pretty hard line stance here, right? We saw it a few years ago with Calvin Ridley, placed a couple of bets, lost an entire season. The NFL held that line this year and suspended several more players that were found out to be gambling. And they weren't even necessarily gambling on their own teams, right? Or in games that they were participating in. So, you know, the competitive integrity of these games has to be in the forefront of all of these commissioners' minds. And I think that's going to lead to a pretty significant penalty for Ulis, right? Like they're going to make an example out of him because they just can't have this. And for Ulis himself, like for all the kids, for all the NCAA athletes that are absolutely watching the One and Done show tonight, go find yourself a better plug, right? Like don't be trying to like set up your own burner accounts. You know what I mean? Like you can get this hustle on a little bit better, but ultimately I do think Ulis is going to be an example of what will happen if you get caught doing this.
Yeah, there's no way he survived. I don't know, man. That's obviously it's allegations, right? But this is, I don't know. It's gonna be pretty tough to get out of this mess. I mean, you would think this wouldn't be an investigation and things if they didn't have enough to investigate it. So, man, just kind of a sad deal, man. I was looking forward to to see what kind of fit he was going to be in that Hoiberg offense. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep tabs on this one, but I think your read is accurate, right? Like if the word of allegations and investigations is already getting out there, they probably have enough behind that to let that news kind of trickle out, right? So we'll keep close tabs on it, but definitely hurts for Ulis, hurts for Hoiberg and the rest of this Nebraska team. That will do it for our news and notes. Before we switch gears here, want to hear from you guys on YouTube. If you have not already, do your part in the Green Screens Media universe. Smash those like and subscribe buttons. Also, get up into those comments. Let us know what you think about gambling amongst professional or student athlete ranks, how you think it should be handled, where you think this goes, right? I think it's a really interesting conversation. We would love to keep that conversation going with you all in the comments. But before we do any of that, like I mentioned before, we're going to take a stroll through the mid-major ranks. We are running it back with Mike's Mid-Major Minute. That is right. So, Mike, we have been going all in on the mid-major teams over the course of this offseason. Like we mentioned off the top, you want to talk about some of the biggest, most impactful returning stars from the mid-majors ranks. So before we start that list, tell everyone kind of your thought process, your methodology that ultimately led you to the names that we're going to review tonight.
Yeah, so just taking a look at all the mid-major conferences, and basically what I consider mid-major are conferences that don't get multi-bid, into the NCAA tournament. So, we talk about the Power 5 and Power 6, including the Big East. Not really including AAC because they're typically a multi-bid league. A West Coast Conference obviously is now a multi-bid league. So, taking those out of account. And just really diving deep. And some of these names we've talked about last year, and some of these guys we really didn't get a chance to talk to. So just wanted to, shine a little bit of a spotlight, talk about what type of player they are. If you hadn't heard of these guys, to maybe give them an opportunity to check them out, and just some names to maybe file away as we get the season going, and names you may need to know in March whenever you're looking for upsets. Typically, you need at least a star or two to pull off that upset. We see it all the time. So yeah, man, let's draw up this list for everyone here, and we'll get it started.
Yeah, the first name that we're going to cover here, if he is someone that is not under your radar, you have definitively been living under a rock. We've got our guy DaRon Holmes, the forward out of Dayton. last year in 34 games, a bit over 18 points, 8.5 boards, almost 2 blocks. So guys just absolutely stuffing the stat sheet. Super excited to see him back for the Flyers. What do we need to know about Holmes?
Yeah, well, first thing with Holmes is there were a lot of rumors this offseason that he was going to hit the portal, but that did not happen. And then we were teasing the other day as we saw a tweet with him getting his new whip from a dealership in Dayton. So NIL must be good, and those are kind of the things you need to do. Obviously, Dayton a stronger market for a mid-major, so probably part of the reason why he's back, but also because he's going to be a star in the A10. He has a chance to kind of solidify his legacy, hopefully getting a tournament bid. And if you watch the guy play, man, he's a dominant low post player. I would think he's going to be the A10 preseason player of the year. And I think he's going to challenge for close to a 20-10 season. And if he can up that to 3 blocks, I mean, not only is he challenging for A10 honors, but he's going to challenge for maybe some second and third team national honors. So as he goes, man, he's gonna have to take Dayton all the way to the tournament, and he's really got to play well this year in order for them to advance in March if they're able to make it.
Yeah, if we see these Flyers punch their ticket, it has a lot to do with the play of DaRon Holmes, and I am certainly sure that Coach Grant was happy to see him pick up that new whip and to retain him for these Flyers. The next player we want to hit is Erik Reynolds, the guard out of St. Joseph's. 33 games last year, a tick under 20 points, 2.5 dimes, 1.3 steals. What do we need to know with regard to Reynolds?
Yeah, so with Reynolds, a breakout year last year. We know he had the talent. I mean, he's a former top 100 recruit, consensus among most sites. And, man, you'd love to see it. He's an elite shooter, 38% from 3, 88% from the free throw line. I'd like to see him add a little more creativity. The 2.5 dimes is nice. Obviously, in college, when you're scoring 20 points a game, you're carrying a huge load there. So, maybe taking that up to 3-4 assists a game, only going to make the spacing for him to operate a little bit easier and make it easier for his teammates. You also like to see the thefts right, almost a steal and a half a game. So able to get that, get that easy bucket here and there. And yeah, man, let's see if we can challenge for over 20 points. Another strong player inside the A10 should be on the all A10 list. And St. Joe's, man, they've had some really good players come through there. Obviously, Jameer Nelson kind of sticks out there. But yeah, I'd love to see Erik Reynolds get it going and maybe surprise someone come March.
Yeah, you're spot on there, right? With a guy like Reynolds who's just so lethal from outside, if he gets more comfortable with that kick out pass, finding that extra pass and finding the open man, it can make all the difference for St. Joseph's. So definitely a name to watch, as is Clarence Daniels, the forward out of New Hampshire. Only played 30 games last year, so did miss a couple. 15.5 points, almost 11 boards. So definitely happy to clean up the glass. Mike, what do the Wildcats have here with regard to Daniels?
He's another guy that could have gone anywhere this offseason. So kind of cool to see these guys return to their teams. Only 6'6". He plays with tenacity on both sides of the floor. It's very rare to average a double-double in college. That's really tough in a 40-minute environment where you're playing, 35 minutes or so. But, man, this guy shot nearly 40% from 3. He should dominate the American East once again. If you haven't watched him play, try to check him out. I know it's really tough to find, these teams unless you're watching ESPN the Ocho sometimes, after darts. And when I was watching it, they got all these random games now being played that I don't even know the names of. They're just they're on ESPN News. It's pretty silly. But, Clarence Daniels, man, that's real tough, man. 15 and 11, man, that's pretty special. So I'd love to see what he could do this year.
Yeah, so 2 things. With the Ocho, I was watching some pogo stick competition on the Ocho a few weeks ago, and that was absolutely nuts. They're doing flips on and off of boxes. It's crazy the things that people will compete at. And going back to the topic at hand, Clarence Daniels, he's able to do a ton for this New Hampshire team, and his stature isn't overwhelming, right? He's 6'6".
Yeah.
He's kind of one of these high motor guys. Might
Mhm.
be a bit of a lazy comp, but almost profiles kind of like a Draymond Green, right? Someone that's just going to outmotor people and really stuff the stat sheet. And if we see him add in some of those tertiary stats, like steals, like assists, could definitely be a needle mover for the New Hampshire Wildcats. The next Wildcat that we're going to talk about is a member of the Weber State Wildcats, and that is Dillon Jones. 32 games last year, 16 and a half points, 11 boards, 4 assists, 1.6 steals. So we're talking about a stat sheet stuffer, and here is Dillon Jones.
Yeah, so Dillon Jones, we talked about him on the last mid-major minute because we were spotlighting Weber State in the Big Sky, expecting a lot out of this team. They return all 5 starters, and man, the guy's just a stud. I mean, he's a stat stuffer. You just listed off all the stats, right? Like sometimes you just hear, 15 points, 11 boards. It's like, well, he's adding 4 dimes and almost 2 steals a game. So I like Daniels, man. He's only 6'6", but he's more of a wing player. So he's real strong, real tough inside. Shot better from 3 the previous year. So, we'll see if he can, tinker that up a little bit and add to his point total. But he's a career 80% free throw shooter. So we know he's got the stroke. Awesome to see him come back. He's another guy that if he dove into the portal would probably be a top 50 guy just because of the way he can kind of control games. And yeah, looking forward to covering Dillon Jones a lot this year.
Yeah, he is definitely a name to remember. Whenever he is on the DFS slate, he is going to be an ace up the sleeve. And as we get into tournament time, either conference or the big dance, how far Weber State is going to be dictated by the play of Dillon Jones. So definitely a fun one to watch. And another name, the last name here on this graphic, kind of played out a lot of the things that we've talked about with the 4 that preceded him, right? These UNC Asheville Bulldogs out of the Big South made a little bit of noise in conference tournament play, made their way into the big dance. They ran into UCLA in the first round, but a lot of that had to do with the play of Drew Pember, right? Came in there, gave them 21 points a game, a little bit better than 9 boards and 2.3 blocks. So high motor guy, definitely a guy that can put this team on his back as evidenced by his play, his postseason play last season. So what do we need to know about Pember and his role for these Bulldogs?
Yeah, we'll be talking hopefully a lot about not just Drew Pember, but the UNC Asheville Bulldogs here. Former Tennessee Vol. He is the reigning Big South Player of the Year. Obviously, when you average 21 and 9 with, almost 2.5 blocks, that gets it done. So, this guy can leave UNC Asheville a legend if he can get him back to the tournament and squeeze out a win. So going to be rooting for this kid. He's one of the best 2-way bigs in the country. He's one of those classic cases of a guy getting opportunity by spinning down to the mid-major ranks, right? And he's just got opportunity to be a better playmaker, and he's got such a sweet stroke, man. He shoots over 80% from the free throw line, and he knocked down 37% from 3. So, there's not much that he can't do on the court. And he has high major pedigree. So, man, look out. I would not be surprised to see him put up 22 and 10 and maybe 3 blocks this year. And he's not going to come off the floor very often. So if you are watching a UNC Asheville game, he should stick out like a sore thumb for sure.
Yeah, the ball has a way of finding him whenever he's on the court. Your eye has a way of finding him whenever you're watching these Bulldog games. And it's a really cool story, right? So many times you see guys down transfer, stuff the stat sheet, and then they're immediately back in the portal trying to find their way, usually into a bench or a rotational role in one of these major conferences. Drew Pember carved out a role that he really likes and that he's clearly able to perform well in for UNC Asheville. So it's definitely cool to see him come back. That is our first 5 guys on this list of 10. Before we switch over to the back half of this list, want to hear from you guys on YouTube of the names that we covered: DaRon Holmes, Erik Reynolds, Clarence Daniels, Dillon Jones, Drew Pember. What do you think of these players heading into the season to come for their respective mid-major teams? Do you think that any or all of them have what it takes to buoy those programs to a March Madness tournament bid. Mike, the players on this list, number 6 through 10, are what we have queued up here, and we'll start off with Marques Warrick, the guard for the Norsemen there. What do we need to know about Warrick and his role in the offense for this team?
Yeah, so this guy can score. If you have not watched Northern Kentucky play, he is an absolute bucket. Since his freshman year, he's averaged at least 15 points, coming in nearly 19 points, nearly 3 assists, over a steal a game. His assists and steals, they've also gone up every year along with this 3-point percentage. So every year he is getting better and better and better. The sky's the limit this year. He also has a very solid team coming back with him. As I was looking over their returning guys the other day and building out that conference for a preview, man, he's someone that, I would not be shocked, gets to that 20-point level, and someone that could be a major force maybe come March, because, man, this one thing this guy knows how to do, it's definitely score the basketball. So looking forward to maybe playing him a little bit in DFS, and he'll be a fun option, coming as we do our bets and everything on drroto.com, which, we'll be posting pretty regularly, with spreads and things like that. And Northern Kentucky, man, I'm looking to jump on them early. So, look for Marques Warrick to do some major damage this year.
Yeah, Marques Warrick can absolutely fill it up, and I think your read on Northern Kentucky is spot on, right? Like, especially in these mid-major ranks, teams coming out of the Horizon League, you're not really seeing those lines accurately reflect the quality of these teams they're putting on the court, but B, you're not seeing a lot of movement in them, right? So as these lines come out, they can definitely be soft and definitely be taken advantage of. So riding shotgun with you on your call for Northern Kentucky. Next name on our list is Trey Calvin, the guard out of Wright State. 32 games last season, a bit better than 20 points, a bit under 4 assists, and 1.3 steals. I mean, this kid is absolutely oozing with talent. So tell us a bit about Trey Calvin.
He is going to be a star. He's already a star, but this team is probably one of my favorite mid-major teams. So when we do, kind of an overview of mid-major teams to watch, they're going to probably fit inside the top 5. The Wright State Raiders, this kid can score. He can dish it out. He's gotten better all 4 years that he's played. He's gone from 31% from the field to 49%. 49% from your lead guard. You don't see that.
Those big man numbers.
Yeah, man. Like that's Tony Parker style. And then 25% from 3, almost a 40% 3-point shooter now. He's going to have an amazing roster around him. They return a ton of guys, and they're getting former nearly 20-point per game scorer Tanner Holden transferring back to Wright State from Ohio State. Man, with more talent around him, it's only going to make the game easier. And who knows, the stats could get even better, man, because Holden is a guy that has already dominated this league. And then, with Trey here, man, like, he's just experienced. He knows how to switch gears, and he's just super efficient, man. And that's a recipe for a dangerous player and a dangerous team. So looking forward, as you can tell by my excitement about talking about Wright State in the future.
Yeah, we'll be talking plenty about Wright State, and you love to see it with Calvin, right? That year-over-year progression. He's got a nice, solid trajectory in terms of what we can expect for him heading into this season. And with Holden coming back, I mean, not only is he going to benefit from better spacing on the floor, but probably going to see some of those assist numbers creep up a little bit, right? So definitely should be another big year for Calvin. And another player that we are projecting for a big year is Enrique Freeman, the forward out of Akron for the Zips. He played 33 games last year, 16.8 points, a little better than 11 boards and 1.2 blocks. So definitely doing the needful on the defensive side and can certainly fill it up as well. 17 points a game is nothing to sneeze at. So Where does Freeman fit in for the Zips, and what is their outlook for this upcoming season?
Yeah, so it's kind of a theme on this back half of the list, right? And not to say the first guys were 1 through 5 or these guys are 6 through 10, but as we list these guys, there's a common trait here, and that these guys have progressively gotten better and better as they project their careers. We just talked about Warrick, what he's done offensively and his projection of his stats. Calvin, we just mentioned that, and Freeman's another guy, and he's also got a really cool story. He was on an academic scholarship, and he wrote an email to Coach Croce, and he just showed up to an open tryout. He's 6'7", but man, for a guy that size, just pulling down boards left and right, just a beast on the inside and on the glass. I mean, yeah, there's obviously some areas of that he needs to improve. Maybe become a little bit better playmaker from the post, but he's about as consistent as it gets when it comes to effort, and that's a pretty cool story, and a guy that you just want to root for. So looking forward to Freeman this year. So should be a fun one.
Yeah, our guy is a steady Eddie down there in the post for Akron, and it feels like we can expect him to take a bit of a step forward this year. Going back to last year, we had the pleasure of sitting down with Drake Bulldogs head coach DaRon DeVries. So we are going to talk about a player that he highlighted last year and that we expect to carry some momentum into this year. That is his son, Tucker DeVries. Last year played 34 games, 18.5 points, 5.7 rebounds, and the icing on the cake, our guy's doing his best young Jay Heinrich impersonation in that headshot. So tell us a bit about the coach's son and what he will do this season for the Bulldogs.
Absolutely, and a great impression at that. But another guy with an awesome leap, man. Freshman to sophomore year. What better leap than winning Rookie of the Year in the league to being the Player of the Year in the Missouri Valley? So there's not really a better progression than that. He shot 37% from three, 84% from the free throw line. So another guy that's a really, really good shooter. And, man, he's going to have to carry a major load. Coach DeVries did a great job of bringing in some talent to play with him because Drake was one of those teams that was super experienced last year. We thought if they got a better draw than Miami, and they almost pulled the Miami upset. If they had gotten a better draw, we really liked them. That was one of the things about the tournament we hated with some of these teams, the mid-majors getting the draw that they got. Duke or Roberts sticks out like a sore thumb. But, yeah, Tucker, man, just a great player. And, yeah, he's going to have to carry this team unless some other guys are able to kind of step up and go along with him because they did have a ton of experience. We'd like to see his playmaking. His assists dropped a little bit, under 2 assists a game. But he's no doubt a special talent.
Yeah, to say the least, and to double back to your point, last year's Selection Sunday was an absolute roller coaster ride because so many of these mid-major teams that we like to follow, so many of these mid-major players that we were rooting for made their way into the tournament. We were stoked about that. And then it turns out that they're all exclusively playing blue chip programs and we're double-digit underdogs, right? So happy to see them make their way into the dance. I think, if some of these guys hit their upside, potentially some teams that we've talked about tonight are the type of teams that can make a bit of a deeper run in the upcoming March Madness tournament. Talked about Tucker DeVries there in the Missouri Valley. Let's close out with the Missouri Valley and a star for Northern Iowa, Bowen Born. Their guard played 32 games last year, a scotch under 18 points, 2.5 dimes for Northern Iowa for the Panthers. So close us out in the Missouri Valley and tell us a bit about how Bourne fits in. Looks like we might have lost Mike here, so I'll give him a minute to get reconnected, and I will do my best Mike impersonation. Bourne is a player that had a great bounce back last year. He's set up to have another great year, surrounded by a very talented team for Northern Iowa. Looks like we've got Mike back, so I will let him do the rest. Tell us everything else about Bowen Bourne.
Yeah, sorry, the little internet issue there, but you mentioned it, man. What a nice bounce back year for him. He's a great shooter. You're gonna make this list most of the time if you're really good at scoring the basketball and shooting the basketball. So, for his career, man, he's a 36% 3-point shooter, 84% from the free throw line, continuing to develop his playmaking skills. You would like to see some improvement defensively. And, man, that name, right? Like, that's got to be a Jay. Once we get Jay back on here, just feel a little bit better. Hopefully going to make the mid-major all-name first or second team. It feels like he was almost born to get that honor. I don't know, man. Was that a good pun there?
I'll reserve judgment on your pun, but I think Bowen Born might be OLI, right? He might be a bubble guy for the All World name, and that's no slight to Bowen himself, right? I think we've got some absolute heavyweights in the All World name team. He's gonna have to unseat some powerhouses in order to make his way there, but we will definitely dog ear that one, and we will ask our guy Jay the next time that he is on the stream with us. That does it for our mid-major minute, spotlighting 10 players that are returning to the mid-major ranks that we like to have big seasons in the year to come.
Love that beat.
Man, gotta love that beat. Definitely gets us pumped up for the mid majors, which is one of the things that's kind of become a passion project for us, right? We're not seeing a ton of coverage on these teams and on these conferences. So make sure you are staying locked here on the One and Done show so you can get all of the information you need, not only on the power conference players and teams, but also those that are in the mid majors. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the information that we're pushing out there. Like Mike mentioned, we're getting ready for our conference previews. So going to be going in depth on a lot of these teams here in the coming weeks. Don't want to miss that. Make sure you have those notifications turned on. And because we are getting so close to the upcoming season, want to take a stroll through the futures market here.
I knew it.
Some of the early odds for the 2024 national championship. Mike, I'm going to get these pulled up here, and while I am doing that, I mean, look, am I just jonesing a little bit? Am I getting a little ahead of myself wanting to talk about these odds at this point in the season, or do you think that this is where we can maybe find some soft lines?
Nah, man. I knew you had a trick up your sleeve when you said the last segment was going to be a little fun tonight. So yeah, let's pull up some odds, and it's August 2nd, man. Let's see if we can find some paper here. What are we using? What do we got here? Is it BetMGM?
So we're over here on BetMGM. Right. It's not surprising to most, I don't think. We've got Kansas up top, plus 1,100. Good amount of line movement. They opened at plus 2,200. I'm sure there are a few people that are holding that ticket from when the line first opened that are feeling pretty good about it. But
Hunter Dickinson news and kind of McCullough news.
A lot of the usual suspects up here. Kansas, Duke, Purdue probably feels like a bit of a trap.
Where's Florida Atlantic?
Michigan State, right? So where are you looking at if you're going to speculate in this futures market? Are you staying up top, or are you probably going to scroll a little bit further down?
Man, I shouldn't even say this. If Jay was here right now, he would. I guess he likes Michigan State because it's the one team that he trusts out of the Big Ten. The plus 1,600 for Michigan State feels pretty good. I think there's a couple of things, right? Like, one, it's Tom Izzo. So, like, he's going to make the Sweet 16. It doesn't matter if he is a 1 seed or a 16 seed. He's just going to do it. So that's a lock right there. And then I just look at the roster. I mean, man, he's got a AJ Hoggard, Tyson Walker's back. They're bringing in Xavier Booker, like a ton of talent, a couple of 5-star kids, a couple of 4-star guys that are really good. The development piece is there. Jaden Akins said he was coming back. So, man, like everyone's back, and that's one of the things that you like. I don't know. If I had to pick a Big Ten team, like I'm not betting on Purdue. Like they have to show me that they can get out of the first round. UConn's kind of interesting to me. I don't know if I can pay for Kansas. Duke has 3 guys that we thought were going to the NBA coming back, and then they bring in like 10 5-stars. It's really, I think it's 4 or 5 5-stars coming in with them. So they're super dangerous. And you see that price really, it has many big splashes, right? It really hasn't moved. But I like Michigan State, man. If I had to pick a longer shot, I don't know that I would touch Gonzaga or North Carolina. Kentucky's kind of interesting. Oh gosh, there's Texas. We're not doing that. If you want to go long shot, man, Villanova is certainly interesting. They have a really good starting 5. Some questions on depth there, but I don't know, man. I couldn't put any coin on Texas or Tennessee. Miami's certainly interesting. What are your thoughts? You got somebody that you would take up top and maybe a longer shot?
Yeah, I do. I guess the team that I'm looking at up top is probably a bit of a longer shot themselves, but I mean, look, I love me some juicy odds, right? So these are the types of speculative wagers I'm going to put out there. And but before I get into my pick, I want to circle back to Michigan State, right? Like we talked about them as we were talking about the Sweet 16 run. We were talking about them over the course of the portal window where they managed to retain a ton of the guys, really all of the guys from that Sweet 16 run. And then we talked about them in our recruiting spotlight, bringing in a star-studded class, right? So, I mean, they've got the horses to do it. And honestly, look around the Big Ten, like who's going to compete with them this year? They made that Sweet 16 run as a very high seed, right? If they come out and they win the Big Ten, all of a sudden they're going to have a much cleaner path to repeating that and to being in the mix for a Final Four.
Purdue.
Yeah. What is it? The last 3 years, Purdue's lost to a 16, a 15, and a 14, or something like that.
Yeah, I just crossed them off. Until you show me you can win one game, I will not put a future for you to win the national championship. You're not Virginia.
It's a hard title to win as it is, but much harder if you're falling to double-digit seeds in the first round every single year. So hopefully this is the year Purdue puts it together. But practically speaking, not a whole lot of resistance for Michigan State to win the Big Ten and to have a very, very favorable path in their side of the bracket. So like that call. My pick, like I mentioned, a little bit of a longer shot. Part of this is just I love twisting the knife for our UT, my UT co-host here. I gotta go with Shaka Smart, Marques plus 2,200.
Let's go.
By your standards, got the monkey off his back last year, got out of round 1, right? He actually ran into the Tom Izzo buzzsaw in round 2. If they got a bit of a better draw, I mean, they certainly.
Yeah, we picked Michigan State to beat them. So
we absolutely did. And honestly, I mean, now that we're kind of squaring off with these two teams again, head to head, I'd probably pick Michigan State as well. But these are rarely head to head considerations, right? They have to advance through several rounds. And, if nothing else, kind of like we were talking about with the Spartans, basically everybody's back for Marquette, right? So this is a team that is, got that veteran savvy. They do have some postseason experience, really battle tested with Kolek and Jones. Another crazy year in the Big East. It's going to be a super competitive regular season and postseason tournament for that conference. But, whoever emerges out of that conference is going to be a problem in postseason play. And, for me, I think Marquette is probably got as good a chance as anyone coming out of that conference. So to
Where's
get
Creighton?
them at plus 2,200 is a price that I'm plenty happy with.
Yeah, absolutely. Where's Creighton at? Oh, there. Okay, I was like, they can't be
2,500.
I like their roster too, man. Like, I know they lost Nimhard and Kaluma, but they're bringing in Ashworth, who's a great 3-point shooter and a really underrated point guard. They get Jonathan Lawson, a really good 3-point shooter from Memphis. Like, man, that's kind of nice too, man. You could give a legit claim to all these teams except for Purdue. So, I mean,
except for Purdue and, of course, Tennessee.
Yeah, of course. Tennessee.
You're not going to win a national title scoring 48 points a game. I'm sorry, you can't convince me otherwise. I will go a little bit deeper down this list. Actually, at the very bottom of this list, I mean, USC at plus 3,500 would look real strong if there wasn't the uncertainty around Bronny James. Obviously, shout out to Bronny James and the James family, hoping for a speedy and complete recovery there. If nothing else, underscores just how much this team has reloaded, that they are on this graphic, right? This is what the top teams in terms of the shortest odds.
Where's Florida Atlantic?
Yeah, where are they at? They returned everybody else as well.
They're going to be top 10 in the preseason poll. Why are they not top 20 in odds?
Probably because it's really hard to handicap how a mid-major program is going to follow up a Final Four plus run. So definitely a fun team to keep an eye out for, and always fun to take a look at these future March, especially at this time of year, right? We're getting a little bit of a better picture as to how these rosters are coming together, as to who is going to be competitive and not in these conferences. So we'll keep that conversation going over the course of the pre and off season, and we will keep the conversation going here on the One and Done Show. Mike, close us out. Tell us a bit about some of the things that we have in the works for the coming weeks, and give a little pitch for why everyone needs to make sure they're subscribed and needs to make sure they've hit that bell.
Well, because we're bringing you the fast break coverage for college hoops. And, we're not just focusing on, the heavy hitters that you can find tons of news on. We're diving deep, man. Once you guys see these conference previews, we're going to try to lump a couple of these together as we go through the mid-majors. And like I said, we'll go individual as we get to the multi-bid leagues. And we're going to do a lot of fun things, man. We're going to talk rapid fire, questions, just have a lot of fun and hopefully bring you guys enough information so that way when betting season gets here, when DFS gets here, which I'm super excited about, obviously, or just in general, when college basketball returns, you have an idea of, what's going on and, where to lay some of your money and where to just kind of enjoy the game. So it's going to be a fun year, man. Love to see these mid-major stars return, man. Maybe we get some better draws, man. I think the biggest thing that you talked about earlier was that the draws just weren't great. I mean, they were blue chip programs, but it was more like this team does not match up very well with this team. Like, it's could have been the worst draw. Could have been a different 2 or 3 seed in some of these cases. Even Creighton and North Carolina State was like a coin flip. I mean, would love to have seen Terquavion Smith, do some damage in a different, a different matchup. But that's what the tournament's all about. And we're here to bring it to you. And it's gonna be a lot of fun. The project that we worked on, we're diving deep in these mid majors, man. So my mind is about to explode off of all this information we've been diving into.
Yeah, my guy Mike is absolutely seeing the matrix. And I'm not going to name names, but there are some prominent college basketball analysts out there where the calendar turned to August yesterday, and they're like, all right, time to start paying attention. And we're not going to have any of that. The best way to go about this is just never stop paying attention, right? We went straight from March Madness into the transfer portal window, into coaching interviews, into some of these breakout players. And that's exactly what we have lined up for you. More breakouts, more mid-major spotlights, going to get into our conference previews, going to keep these interviews going. So make sure, if you have not already, that you are subscribed here on YouTube. Make sure you got that notification bell on so you don't miss any of the content we're pushing out, because all of that, when in a few short weeks, when the season kicks off here, all of that will culminate as the best way for you to get this bread.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drrodo.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.